Westwood in 1996. Jean-Paul Gaultier in 1998. And Dior in 2005 and 2008. In that year, Christian Lacroix also looked to the 18th century for inspiration. Now, contemporary takes on courtly costume are on show in Versailles, alongside with the historic originals. This dress is 15 years old. This one over 200. Despite the intervening centuries, these outfits from the last 90 years aren't as different from 18th century fashion as one might think.
They are both talking about social status and wealthiness. And of course, when you have a sack dress in a beautiful silk textile, or when you are wearing a Chanel high fashion dress, it means that it's quite vulgar to say that, but it means that you are able to offer this kind of dress, and it means that you are also living in a society which has this social code.
The exhibition is showing in Versailles, a 30-minute drive south of Paris. The palace that long served as the center of political power in France is still one of the country's biggest tourist draws. Its pomp and glamour had a tremendous influence on arts and architecture across Europe.
At the 18th century, the French court was one of the most prestigious. Well, we like to think that it was the most prestigious, but of course not. There was the English one, the Swedish one, and Danish one, and Spanish one. But anyway, it was one of the most prestigious courts. And all the European court were looking at us.
Over 200 years after the French Revolution, Versailles has lost none of its mystique. Designer Karl Lagerfeld is one of its many famous fans.
Ich liebe Versailles.
I love Versailles. I love fashion. I love fashion throughout the centuries. Today we have movie stars and red carpets. Back then we admired aristocrats' costumes.
Lagerfeld's admiration of 18th century fashion has often been reflected in the collections he designs for Chanel. In the current exhibition, these are presented together with the costumes that inspired them. The originals are stored in darkened rooms with strictly regulated temperatures.
Of course, they are not copying, strictly 18th century dress. For them, it is kind of fancy or dream. 18th century inspiration gives them the right to be luxurious.
Take Dior's modern twist on Rococo flamboyance. Typically, it featured stylized silhouettes, flouncy fabrics, and lavish embroidery. Now as then, it's all about creating a fantasy.
All these centuries are dialoguing, so you can see that there is that high fashion is coming from all this 18th century luxury fashion. So there is a real thread, and that it's also interesting to observe how fashion is looking at herself and consuming. She's consuming herself.
The exhibition provides a glimpse into a world of high fashion that's no less enchanting in 2011 than it was during the days of Marie Antoinette.